I actually wish I started recording sooner because I was scrolling up and down this list looking for the pistols for longer than I'd like to admit. But today we're going to be talking about a surprising response I had to my SMG video, which you should check out in the description below, where more of you than I would have expected voted to make a video on the best pistols. And I say more of you expected as in, I don't know, I didn't expect anybody to leave any kind of recommendation like that, but I'm glad that you guys are enjoying this series and I'm happy to continue it. So, the best pistols, I think, are a fantastic follow-up to the SMG video, and I agree with you guys in that sense, because SMGs, as I mentioned in that video, were mostly all pistols. Like, that was a pistol, you know, whatever. A lot of these were all pistols before, so it kind of makes sense that we talk about what weapons in the game are still pistols and which ones of them are actually worth using. So, as I say with every single video, the Onslaught is just phenomenal. If you haven't used this weapon, then it's basically like the Needler in Halo, but then they brought it to Fortnite. You still can't dual wield it. They patched it after Halo 2. I'm as bummed as you are. But that's basically it. I'm just going to leave that there. Onslaught, all of these weapons that I talk about here today, most of them have their own videos. If they don't have a video, then yell at me in the comments and I'll make it happen when Epic lets me do it. But for now, I will link my playlist in the description below. Then I'll list a video for every single weapon I've covered in the description below right before that playlist. So starting alphabetically, we could talk about the Bald Eagle. The Bald Eagle is one of those weapons that I think is just a fun weapon. It's really not that powerful, but it's the Deagle. I mean, come on, like they brought it to save the world, and its headshot multiplier is insane before you realize that the damage drop off on a pistol is substantial. So you're not hitting for, I don't know, my perks are all over the place with this, by the way. Don't use that. They're just, it's kind of a fun headshot weapon, and it's not that great. The Ghost pistol is something that I'm going to speak from the group opinion as opposed to my own, because my own is that it's a slow-firing projectile weapon that you have to lead shots, and it's not that great, but it did recently get buffed, and everybody else that's not me that's used it seems to love this thing now. Make up your own mind, I'll say, because I think it looks phenomenal. This is a weapon that I bought on vacation when I had like a terrible laptop computer because I was like, I need to have that when I get home. And even after the buff, it's exactly what it says. It's a slow firing pistol. It can shoot through walls, which is useless in Save the World, but kind of a cool feature. And it does a lot more damage apparently. I don't know. I wasn't impressed, but maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. The Ginger Blaster is by far one of the best pistols in the entire game. I made a video on this recently. It was one of the first weapons I believe I covered in the new Winter 2019 event. It was the first weapon I covered that I hadn't already made a video on, and that's because it's an amazing pistol. What else can I say? If you don't have the Ginger Blaster, perk it up and have a good time. The Hot Mix, I will happily admit that I am entirely unqualified to speak on. I used this a little bit upon release, and then genuinely I cannot say if this is good or bad, because I really didn't give it the full run of testing, so if anybody really loves this weapon, vouch for it in the comments below, and maybe somebody will have a new toy to play with. Plasmatron 9000 is almost the same story, except that I played with it enough to form an opinion that it is just worth mentioning in a video talking about the best pistols, because I believe that some people regard it to be very, very powerful. I was not impressed by it. I think it is a strong pistol where you can shoot a lot, and seeing as you never have to reload if you use something like the Crack Shot hero to buff your damage, you can really stack a lot of damage on this thing, but this is a pistol that requires a lot of setup and has a super short range, and there are just so many better options. You know, I was going to slip this clip in here like it was all clean and nonchalant and totally planned out, but I'm not even going to lie to you guys right now. I was rendering my video finding pictures for the thumbnail when it occurred to me that I had completely forgotten to talk about one of my favorite pistols in the entire game. Obviously, that's why it's favorited, but the last word is something that I seriously regret forgetting to mention, because it seriously is one of the top weapons in the entire game. I know in this video I cover most of the pistols and talk about them generally, but this is actually a contender for one of the best pistols. This is my go-to whenever I'm screwing around. I have an entire video explaining these perks, link below, where I show why I use it the way I do, but I love to just go for the head, shoot with this weapon from the hip. It's got high fire rate from the hip, and then a nice, accurate, slower firing shot when you're aiming down the sights, and this makes it a very versatile weapon, and it looks like a classic 6-shooter pistol. Like, it really is one of my favorite weapons to use, and it's actually one of the better weapons in the entire game. If you haven't tried it out and you've got some decent accuracy, I think you should give this one a go. Moving on to one of the most interesting weapons in the game is the tiny tiny instrument of death, which for a long time was, technically speaking, the only explosive weapon in the game that could be made Shadow Shard. And I say that because it's a pistol. Its class is a pistol. It gets pistol buffs, but it shoots rockets that explode. And you have to guide them in a sort of weird way that it's kind of tough to control. But the proper way to use it is to just run up to an enemy and spam it into their chest and then explode on impact with the right pistol loadout, and it's gonna be a very, very, very good time. And it's very funky, and you really have to make it work, and don't you dare use it on a propane. You know what? Go ahead. Use it on a propane zombie and see what happens. Right in the middle of the trap tunnel, too. Your friends are going to love it. The Whisper 45, I think... I mean, you can fight me on this, but I feel like this is, and kind of for a long time has been, the best basic pistol in the game. Meaning, obviously the Onslaught is its own deal, and the Ginger Blaster is kind of unique, but the Whisper 45 is like the only normal pistol with normal perks that's like, it's a really, really good weapon. It's a suppressed weapon from the military set, which means it has a base 20% crit chance, and maxed out. In the past, I've regarded this as effectively a pistol variant of the Silent Spectre, oh my god, if I could find it. It's basically the pistol version of the Silent Spectre in the respect that it has a 20% crit chance, and then it'll have a really, really nice crit damage, because I think it has a base 75 as well, so it gets boosted really, really high with the correct loadout, which I don't even know what loadout I'm using right now, but it's a really, really good pistol. If you don't have a Whisper 45 leveled up and you enjoy using pistols, this is absolutely something you should check out, and I do have a video on it in the description below. I'm going to gloss over a couple here that I believe should be mentioned, but the Coco 45 is just a really, really fun weapon. The stuff bounces around. What more can I say? And the Bolt is another weapon that somebody wanted me to try out in a recent video, but I don't know. It shoots through enemies. So in the earlier missions, this is a quite fun weapon, seeing as you can get a lot of peers, and it has a decent fire rate and damage and all that, but this is not something that holds up in the late game to my understanding. However, I might try this out in a future date. Again, if this is a weapon you love, let me know in the comments below. And the last fun weapon I want to talk about is the Freedom's Herald. My friend Skulls would tear me a new one if I didn't at least bring this up. This is another weapon that shoots basically a firecracker that explodes on the enemy, and it can do a ton of damage. He likes to run a crit build on this. I don't know that you want to be constantly banking on that. However, in explosive weapons and Save the World, traditionally, crits are based on every enemy hit. So if you shoot an explosive weapon into a crowd of 10 zombies, every one of those 10 zombies will have their own dice roll as to whether or not it crits. So if you want to run a crit build on this and then just have an explosive pistol, you might have a really good time with that. Now, to finish up the video, I want to talk about the last couple amazing weapons here, and that is the Jax Revenge, which made a huge splash when it first came out because its headshot multiplier is gargantuan, and the people were running crits on this thing, and that just made, oh boy, a huge difference. With a base 15% crit chance, plus its wonky 6 perk, if you use the Corsair sword, I believe it had that chance to, on crit, increase headshot damage on the pistols, so you could use these two in conjunction with each other to do some wicked damage. This was one of those weapons that was hitting for the millions back when that was hard to do. I'm looking at you, Wrath. And the pistol it's again, very good to use. The damage drop off is pretty significant, but when you're headshotting for the hundreds of thousands without much of a bonus, I think you're going to like what it does. And that's it for the Jax Revenge. What more can I say? I think its reputation speaks for itself. And the last one that I'm going to be mentioning here today is the Founders Revolt, which I'm pretty sure everybody knew was coming. Classic old weapon that the Founders get. I don't know what version of the game you need it. Maybe people in the comments can let me know. But I made mine Obsidian because, don't ask, I don't know why. You could only make it purple, which is one of the reasons a lot of people in the higher end kind of forget that it exists. But it's also an extremely powerful weapon that holds up even as a purple weapon. Again, my perks are kind of weird. I wasn't really trying that hard with this. In fact, I made it purple perks just to match the rarity there. But the Founders Revolt has an extremely unique 6 perk where the bullet's chained to nearby targets, and that makes it an extremely powerful area of effect pistol. So if you want to just spam this into a crowd, it's an extremely fun one to use. And if I'm not mistaken, it's not locked to nature. I don't know why I had that in my head, but you can put any element on it. I would recommend energy because it's the best all around. I'll link my elements video in the description below if you want more on that topic. But those are my picks for the best pistols in Fortnite Save the World. Again, a lot of my old picks have become SMGs, and I haven't used every pistol in the game, so there are weapons like the Falcon and the Judge, which is my understanding to be worse versions of the Bald Eagle. I might be totally wrong on that. The Krypton pistol and the Vindertech Blaster or Burster, whatever you want to call it, are two weapons that I believe have deserved my attention in the past, but again, I'm not qualified to speak on them. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, I'm surprised you guys wanted to see the best pistols so soon. This was on my list because I want to cover all the best weapon types in the game, but pistols are kind of a forgotten about section of the game, especially since all of the best pistols just became SMGs. So it's kind of like we're digging in the back of the attic for what's left in the pistol section. But there are quite a lot of fun options here and really, really interesting traits. I mean, we got a sound blaster, we've got a bubble gun. This thing drops healing drops. This thing shoots through the. All the pistols have their own unique flavors, and most of them are very, very powerful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out some of the videos linked in the description below. I do make a lot of Save the World content. If you want to see more of that, hit subscribe. Hope you guys have a nice day, and thanks for watching.